Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. We are not on Zooms today. I am actually, ironically enough, sitting at the United Way office to have a chat with my very dear friend, Andrea Cosans from Winchester CCAP. And it does sort of make sense, Andrea, I guess, that we're sitting here. We'll explain it to everyone in a few minutes. But before we get in the weeds on this amazing new program that you are about to kick off, grant-funded program, for someone who isn't familiar with Winchester CCAP, give me a little history and background for your organization.
So we were developed in 1974 to help people who could make it 3 weeks of the month, but really struggled that fourth week of the month. They were not called the Alice population in 1974, but that's who we were dealing with. We provide homeless prevention services through a food pantry, a clothing ministry, and often offering financial aid to people in need to help them get through a crisis and keep them stabilized. Our thought is it's much cheaper to prevent homelessness than to try and fix homelessness.
The financial aid, it comes in a lot of forms. It could be someone who needs to get a car repaired. It could be that they need some money for their electric bill. It could be any number of things. It's whatever that hump is that they're facing at the time.
Right. About 3 years ago, we kind of narrowly defined what we would do financial aid for, because if we're keeping people homed, it makes sense to help pay for rent, mortgage, utility bills, heating costs, and car repair if you are working. Because if you can't get to work, you're not going to get money. You're going to get kicked out.
So tell me how this program came about.
The program came about because CCAP is what I would call a Band-Aid or a crisis program. There is certainly a need for that kind of a program, but why not take it that extra level and get people out of the cycle of crisis and Band-Aids? And that's really where I think we could make a difference. So about 3 years ago, a therapist and a life coach from Legacy Wellness went to a conference, and there was a grant for $1,000. And we developed what we called a self-sufficiency program. We took 5 clients initially, and 3 were wildly successful. The idea was to give them sessions with a therapist, sessions with a life coach to talk about the trauma involving poverty, involving decision making, and trying getting them out of that cycle of living crisis to crisis instead of having some forethought and planning.
Because if you don't know anything else, you tend to make the same, I'll call them mistakes, over and over again because it's all you know until you can recognize where you are in that cycle and do something differently to get yourself out of it.
Exactly. So of the initial 5, 1 never showed up to the program. So
big mistake.
Yeah, you're not going to be successful if you don't show up to the program. 1 had back surgery that went bad and had to drop out of the program. The other 3, 1 ended up working at Valley Health. We never see her. 1 ended up, as he put it, I learned not to put my business out there. This was a gentleman who came to CCAP every day. When I kicked him out of CCAP, he would go next door to Bo's Express and hang out with the homeless. He was not homeless. We got mental health needs addressed. He's working. I have not seen him at CCAP in about 2 years now.
Wow.
And he still keeps in touch with the life coach who said he's doing wonderfully. Third one, instead of coming weekly, comes every 2 months. She got a job at Great Meadows. She won the Park Ranger Wheelbarrow Olympics. And I talked to her yesterday, and she said, I was in a place that got stuck, and I couldn't see my way out of getting stuck. And this program helped me get unstuck. And she's doing great.
That's a 100% success rate when you factor in that the other 2 didn't not succeed. They just couldn't take full advantage of the program. And this version that you are about to roll out is even more in-depth than that very first program.
Correct. So that very first program allowed me to leverage more money, and we took 10 clients, and 10 out of 10 were wildly successful. And some of them had some very, very difficult, hard problems that were taken care of. And that 10 allowed me to leverage, along with some partners, a $112,000 pot of money from 2 different grants. This program is great. I truly believe in it. I think this is the way to go. It's expensive, which is unfortunate, but if you want to do it right, you have to do it with money. It's also not sustainable at CCAP. As you well know, Janet, I don't have office space anymore. And it shouldn't be any one agency program because it's not going to last as any one agency program. So I convinced, and I don't know why they put their trust in me, but I'm very thrilled.
I 100% know why they put their trust in you, but go on.
Connected Communities, I'm Just Me, United Way, Horizon Goodwill, and Family Promise to buy into this program. We're going to have case management. We're going to have the therapeutic services. We're going to have the mentoring services. We have some people with some great database skills to follow through and make sure we're going to get the data we need. The program's for a year, but we're going to follow clients for 2 years to see how successful they are at staying housed, staying stable, moving on with their life out of the cycle of crisis and poverty.
It's so smart to follow them for 2 years because it's very easy, I think, for most people to be successful in a program when they're still in the program. So that second year, when they're not getting the services as often or as heavily as they were the first year, is really going to be that true test.
I think so. I also think people need support, and this will be a way, if there's a problem, we can try and figure out how to solve that problem before it becomes a crisis.
And that's a lot of what this program is going to do. So there are going to be different things that they're involved in. Those groups that you have now partnered with, they each bring something different and unique to the table that are going to serve the different part of a whole person.
Absolutely. I'm just really, really excited. So the grants are thanks to Valley Health Foundation and Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They gave me the money for the slightly bigger 10-person project, and they were so impressed because normally they're like, we fund you once and then we're done. But this really aligns with their philosophy and mission. So I'm very grateful for my funding partners. And so this is really cool because they're going to bring in some self-resilience classes they do and financial literacy classes. Goodwill has their, I call it their job boot camp. I know that, I think it's called Get On Board is the program. A week-long intensive job training, and they have some places for job placement. One of the things that I hope to do is write a grant for a job developer.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Which would be the next step in this. Have the case manager, the job developer work together to really form a supportive foundation for clients enrolled in this program to be successful.
I'm sure that what you found in that first round of 5 and then second round of 10 is that rarely is there one singular issue that is the roadblock for people.
That is correct. One client this was a couple. They came to CCAP in crisis. They ended up getting a job at a factory, then got forklift certified. I'm forklift certified, so if my board ever lets me go, I know where I'm going to go. But you can make decent money driving a forklift for a local factory, and that's always needed. They came with some substance abuse issues, some domestic violence issues, and they turned their lives around. And in fact, they come back and volunteer as much as they can for us because we're family. And that's not an expectation of the program. Absolutely not. But that
was the bonus.
It was the bonus. The people who've gone through the program who I've run into, another one, he was part of drug court. He was having problems. He's like, I'm getting a lot of support from drug court. I've found the job. I'm at the point where I'm going to step away from the program. He came back about 2 months ago wanting to offer CPR classes to our clients for free.
Wow.
That give back is amazing. Again, it's not required. I didn't expect it. But to know that this program has literally changed lives is really exciting, and that's why I want to partner and have it part of our community and have any nonprofit or any point of entry really for clients. We hope to take up to 50 clients this round. I found a federal grant writer who I'm going to hopefully convince to look at some SAMHSA grants and make this more permanent, more long-term, because this is what our community needs.
Who do you envision being the perfect candidate to participate in this program?
I'll smallest population, really. Somebody who's asset limited, income constrained, employed, most likely underemployed. And in this area, 50% of Winchester City is on some type of entitlement benefit. There's 19% food insecurity. You go walking down Fairfax or Washington Street and you think, or even downtown, the mall, it's a beautiful city, beautiful brick buildings. There must be money here. But for as much money as there is, there's more poverty.
And you don't recognize or realize that.
No, you don't know your neighbors are food insecure. And so for this community, especially as federal cuts are making some lasting effects and the price of gas is impossible and the price of eggs are impossible, having a program that can get you that next level, I think is really important for the health of our community.
So much of it, too, is just an education that in a lot of cases when you're talking about trauma-informed decisions, but also lifestyle. If you grew up in a family, in a household that always struggled, and yet maybe mom and dad didn't make the smartest of decisions. They got a little bit of money and they wouldn't necessarily spend it on the things that they should, or they always assumed that fast food was cheaper and faster when it's not necessarily cheaper. It might be faster, but it's certainly not healthier. You're going to be able to explain and educate the people in this program on options that maybe they didn't even know existed.
Correct. I think everybody needs support. And I think that's really the difference between a person who succeeds and a person who fails. I've had incredible support even at the lowest parts of my life, and I've been very lucky for that. And I know how to seek that out and seek out positive support. But if you're in a community where everybody's in the same boat, how do you even know there's something different?
How will this be structured? I'm guessing it's not going to be a classroom type thing.
No, there are going to be week by week expectations, meeting with the case manager, having a minimum of sessions with the therapist, having a minimum of sessions with the life coach, having to go to get on board, having to go to the financial literacy class.
The other beauty to this is, when I joke about it being in a classroom setting, it's not going to be, here's a general, we're going to apply all of the things to all of you. It is going to be very individualized.
Oh, correct. The thing I love about the life coach or the mentoring is it gives what I call room to dream. One of the clients who's very successful, he came in to CCAP needing financial aid. He was a single father. Mom was not in the picture, had 2 kids, really wanted to go back to college, had no clue how to do it. Mm-hmm. I mean, how do I get childcare? How do I pay for college? I don't think he even had a job. He had just gotten laid off. So he was in really desperate straits. He went back to college. And again, I don't see him at CCAP. So that's what the life coach or the mentoring part is. How can you dream? How can you turn that dream into reality? How can you structure the steps to make your goals happen? Because I know I am not a bucket list person. I have a friend who's like, by the time I'm 50, I'm this. By the time I'm 60, I'm that. I'm like, what are you and who are you?
I lost my bucket 20 years ago, I think.
So that's not me. But to have goals and to figure out the steps you need to get to the goals, I think is really helpful and beneficial.
And so many of us, and I include myself in this, we don't really know how to do a family budget. I kind of have something that might somewhat look like that, and Pam at United Way is sitting in the other office probably thinking, I know, because I have to work with her on the United Way budget. But it's not necessarily something that's taught in schools anymore. And so it's hard to figure that out when you don't even know where to start. Those financial stability pieces of this program are going to be really great.
Really good example. And another nonprofit leader told me this. If clients think this way, great, my bills are paid. I can buy that $150 shoes or whatever without thinking about, wait, bills are next month too. Where am I going to get that money? And in fact, I'm guilty of that too. I just paid off my credit card and realized that my IRA retirement account is due and I don't have money for that. So I'll be borrowing money from my husband.
That's what husbands are for. Sorry, yes. Sweetheart. If you've never been taught how to think that way, it does become that vicious cycle, and now you're going to be able to break it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm very excited about this. I'm very excited about the early results. And I think having partners realize things that I may not have realized is going to make the program that much better.
This initially started off as this brainchild that you had, and then you brought in some of your funders. And then when you decided this was going to be a much bigger thing, what was, I'll use Chris, I'll put Chris on the spot, Chris Briganti from Family Promise Winchester area. What was his response when you reached out to him and said, hey, I'd like you to be a part of it?
I'm in.
Shocking, not shocking.
Everyone I talked to was very positive, very excited. I had invited a whole bunch of people to initial meeting. I gave them my results of the last 2 years, and I said that I know Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints is very interested in continuing to fund this program in some ways. I can't do it alone anymore. Who's interested? Everybody who I invited but one agency was interested.
Wow.
They had all questions, obviously, and it was very much, we like the overall idea. How are we going to structure it? Who's going to be responsible for what? Every meeting we have had since then has been incredibly productive. There's been no tension, which is absolutely really
somewhat
amazing.
Unheard of given our current times with all nonprofits.
Yeah, and it was really funny because I came in and I set the tone by saying, look, I feel like a mother who's sending their children out of the nest, and I may have problems letting go, but I want this program to work, so feel free to tell me, chill out. To which Chris, of course, said, we don't see you as a dictator. So, some of the details have been, whose paperwork are we using? For example, in order for all of us to talk, we have to have release of information. How are we going to structure the release of information? Who's going to do the intake? How is going to be the referral source?
United Way is going to be the fiscal agent, so we'll manage the money and handle that sort of thing.
Right, and some of it was the money was supposed to go straight to United Way, and that didn't happen, so United Way and CCAP had to talk about how that's going to get taken care of.
You're not talking about a small amount of money here. You're no longer talking about helping 5 people or even 10 people and having $1,000 or even $10,000. While it is a lot of money, that ripple effect out into the community of what those 50 people that participate in this program are then going to be able to do for their families and their neighborhoods and the community as a whole, I think will pay for itself 10 times over.
Yeah, and Kim Wilt of United Way has been very intimately involved in doing Kim's magic. Policy research. It should be able to be duplicated. It should be able to be replicated, because then we could take it to other communities. And I love that. I love that thinking big while planning small. And we may not get to the point where we become the subject matter experts nationally, but I could see a point where we could do that.
I could totally see a point where you were able to travel the country and talk about the impact in a community the size of ours. Because there are a lot of communities the size of ours all across the country that are also facing the same issues that we're facing right here, and you could be a resource for them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Winchester, Frederick County is at a very interesting crossroads. We're still small town, but we're actually becoming very big. So how do you manage the growth and manage to keep your citizens happy and productive during some very trying economic times?
It's also, when you talk about the Alice population, a lot of them don't know where to start. They don't know about food pantries. Maybe they've heard the show and they've heard you and I talk, but they may not necessarily, I don't even know how that works. Do I just show up there? I've never had to ask for any of this before. So this is going to be a great program too, to walk people through what all the resources are that are available to them.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I'm also excited because I've been at CCAP since 2020, and I see new clients coming in for financial aid, and I see some one and dones or two and dones, but I also see those families who come back year after year after year, and when they're done with CCAP, they go to Highland or Catholic Charities or Salvation Army, and we all know the names. So how cool would it be to start looking at that and say, I know I have an impact that day. I know that client is not going to get kicked out of their house that day, but how cool would it be able to say, we took this client who kept asking 5 years in a row, and they're no longer asking. because they can be self-sufficient.
And that trickles down into the tax base. It really does make your community a much stronger, more economically viable community.
Yes, yeah. So I'm very excited about this. I believe the city manager and deputy manager will be visiting CCAP this Monday, and I'm going to give them the press release and tell them this would be a great way to partner. I don't think a nonprofit is eligible for help through the Economic Development Authority, but there are certain other workforce programs.
There are training opportunities, there are further education things that get you those certifications to be able to operate a forklift. Any of those things are available.
I often joke because when I was working with chronically mentally ill, one of my clients was a welder, and he was making much more on disability than my regular everyday client on supplemental income. I'm in the wrong business. And then I heard what underground or underwater welders make. All those kind of certificates and trainings, which Laurel Ridge Community College is wonderful, and we hope to partner with them. That's the wave of the future for our clients, I think.
So this program is grant funded, but CCAP, Winchester CCAP in general, you need to find funding for the food pantry and the clothing house and that financial aid that you're able to offer. You do that through fundraisers. I'll pat you on the back here because you do some really cool fundraisers. Tell me a little bit about some of those.
So we're having our 6th annual benefit bike ride on August 22nd. It starts 8 o'clock at the Wellness Center, 105 Campus Boulevard. You can go to our website to register. About 270 people come out every year to bike. Shenandoah Valley is well known as a really good place to bike, kayak, hike, and people come. I think I have someone coming from Ohio this year.
What? That is crazy.
I've had people come from Germany and England and Florida and New England.
I think we talked about this last year. You have people that schedule their vacations to come to this area specifically so they can participate in this bike event.
Yeah. So I'm very excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. I still need volunteers. So if you want to come out and hand out cookies and protein bars to people stuffed in Lycra with all sorts of crazy bike styles, come on down. Come talk to Jessica Leonard, my volunteer coordinator. And then New Eve Maternity Home and I are partnering on a night or an evening of enchantment, Thursday, June 18th. I have 120 tickets left. Janet is going to be our lovely MC.
Yes, I already have the dress and everything.
We have a silent auction, a live auction. Somebody is going to do 2 nights at Gore Cabin.
Oh.
Complete with the dinner at Violino's. So for a nice staycation, we have a hot water heater to auction off again.
So we had one of those at the gala, and I remember thinking, who in the world is going to buy this hot water heater? It seemed like the craziest thing, and there were like 5 or 6 people that were, no, I want it, no, I want it. It was crazy to me.
It made more than the jewelry from Cooper's.
It did.
Diane Ruckman has been kind enough to donate a jewelry item, and hers are quite unique and local and fun, and so it's going to be a really good night. Entertainment is provided by the amazing Vic, a magician who's very nice about giving back to nonprofits. It will be an interactive night of fun. All of this, the program, the joint fundraiser, we're doing this because A, it makes sense to collaborate. First and foremost, no one agency can do it on its own, especially with the project as involved as the Thrive Project. But I want to publicize it because there seems to be a narrative that there's too many nonprofits, we don't play nicely together, we duplicate and overlap services. And as someone who's spent the last 6 years collaborating both informally and formally, I don't see that we don't play together.
I've never seen that either, even from the outside looking in. I have never met any nonprofit in this community that has ever said, no, I'm going to do this is mine, and you stay out of my sandbox. I've never had that situation.
Not at all. We do collaborate. What we don't do is we don't toot our own horn. My goal for the next year is really to take my partners around to whoever's willing to listen and to start talking about how we collaborate and why it's important. No one agency can do it all. And a CCAP gives out $200 per year per household. When I see bills that are 1,000, 2,000, even 5,000. Without the help of our partners, Highland Food Pantry, Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, New Life Church, and others, $200 would do nothing.
Right.
But when we bring that all together, it makes a huge difference.
That's the other part too. When you talk about the perception of overlap of services, I think food pantries in particular get a bad rap for that because people think, my gosh, we have a dozen food pantries in this area. What they don't realize, because they've likely never had to use one, is that there are limits to, like, someone can come to you once a month. They can't get enough food from you to feed a family of 4 for the entire month. There have to be other food pantries to pick up the slack. That's not overlap. That's just smart planning.
It is, and we've done a really good job of making sure that there's a variety of times. So, for example, Highland serves Tuesdays. I don't serve Tuesday. I thank Highland because it gives us a chance to clean
Yes.
and organize and get ourselves together. We serve 9 to 12:30 Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and 9 to 11:30 on Fridays. Hope Again starts serving at 1. We serve the second Saturday of the month because the church on Merriman's Lane serves the third Saturday of the month. And we do a lot of horse trading between a lot of the food pantries because that increases our diversity and availability of food. And another partnership I had, thanks to United Way, was United Way gave us a $50,000 grant last year to push out with what was originally 4 partners.
You just kept adding partners.
Yeah, it came out to, I think, 5 partners that were official and a couple of unofficial partners. We were able to push out 50,000 pounds of produce as far south as Edinburgh, into Front Royal, north into Frederick County. Knights of Columbus, Laurel Ridge Community College, CCAP Front Royal, and Love in Action were my partners, and they were fantastic.
That's what has always frustrated me when you hear, oh, there's too many nonprofits and they don't get along. Well, if you didn't get along, how would you be able to have this schedule of who's open and who's closed when in order to still serve the population? You have to get along in order to not duplicate the services. And I think that's the thing that I wish more people realized and understood.
And there's 2, not agencies, but 2 groups that are really working at promoting collaboration. One being the Nonprofit Collaborative, which is a fairly new group. We spent about 15 months really being intentional about what we wanted to be, and that was really out of the concerns for the changes from the federal level on funding for nonprofits and how we were going to survive. And what people don't understand is when a nonprofit dies, the people who get served by the nonprofit don't go away.
No.
They find other ways that may not be as appropriate as the nonprofit who is there, or they overrun the capacity of nonprofits.
Of the ones that are still left.
That can be very difficult. Church World Services lost a lot of funding, and when they had the funding, they would bring their clients down with a case manager who could translate. That was huge for us because we'll give the food, the clothing, the financial aid no matter what, but it's very hard for us to have any kind of conversation if we can't speak the language.
Right.
And so that's been very hard since their case managers can no longer do that. So that's really a direct effect of, well, an indirect effect because I didn't get cut for financially because I don't get federal funds.
Right.
But I now need to figure out ways to serve clients who really are better served by other agencies or better served in conjunction with other agencies. And that's what I think people don't get. So the collaborative was really there to try and figure out ways to partner and to advocate and to really say that, hey, we're subject matter experts. We want to partner with local government and other entities so that we can solve problems that are not CCAP's problem or Horizon Goodwill's problem, but are all of our problems. Because my clients are not my clients, even though I call them my clients. They are citizens who need help, and they are citizens who will go to Horizon Goodwill, who will go to ASPCA, who will go to literacy volunteers. And until we start thinking about them as citizens who have needs for services that the nonprofits can do that local government may not be able to totally do, we're going to be in this.
It's going to be a vicious circle. It's
Yeah.
much like the cycle of poverty for the people that you're helping through this Thrive Project. That's the same thing that's going on a much larger scale, that we all, I think, have some responsibility to try and fix, not put a Band-Aid on, but to fix.
Exactly.
So where can people go get tickets or information about an Evening of Enchantment? Where can they go find out how they can sign up for the bike event? Give me those details.
CCAPwinchester.org.
That's easy. And it's a brand new website. It looks really, really good.
Thank you. Thank you to Wild Ember.
Thank you for taking the time to sit and chat and give me all this background and information. I can't wait to see the data start rolling in and see the people that you're going to be helping with this and how that filters back out into the community.
Oh, I'm super excited about it. Me too.
I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, just a few minutes after noon, so meet me here then.